Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're watching two more episodes of the Apothecary Diaries, episodes 4 and 5. Very excited to be back with Mao Mao and the gang as we slowly creep into this new season. I'm gonna be fully honest with everybody. It's been a bit of a slow opening. I'm ready for something big to happen, something a little bit more big picture. Yeah, kind of a little bit disappointed last week that our little story there in episode 3 was pretty self-contained. That being said, I continue to have faith in the show that I guess this is all set up. Something will occur from what's been going on thus far. I'm ready for something big. I'm ready for something kind of mind-blowing, I guess. Again, coming in a little bit negative here early, which just is not the thing I want to get across at all because I'm really enjoying my time. One of my favorite things is Apothecary Diaries, so any extra stuff there that I get to watch is a blessing in of itself, as is this comment from Gus N, and the solitary comment that we have here today. Now, I'm happy you've brought this up, because I was of the opinion that it was mistranslated as well, but I could not confirm anything. I'm not like that, I guess. Yeah, this makes a whole lot more sense if the subtitles were supposed to say that jasmine tea increases fertility in males, then Jinshi's reaction thusly then makes sense. Crazy how translation is important. And yes, I definitely didn't notice that he chugged the rest of Mao Mao's tea before he left. So he wanted to get super horny. Or at least prove that he could get super horny because Mao Mao was teasing him. Anyway, odd scene, if I'm honest. Also, fun fact, many loose-leaf teas can be steeped more than once using the same leaves each time, sometimes even 4 to 5 times. It's not necessarily worse each time either. Often the second and third infusion tastes better than the first. It depends on a lot of factors though, not just the type of tea, but the amount, quality, water temperature, and time spent steeping too. I'm not like a tea guy, but sure, I'll take your word for it. Maybe I'm not having the second and third steep. Maybe that's why I'm not a tea guy, I don't know. That being said, it's been a long time since I've even had tea, and I'd like to imagine I have a little bit more of an adult palate now, can tolerate things that are a little bit better, like tea, so I don't know. Or you just dump it with sugar and then it tastes like sugar water, so that can't be that bad either. And I guess I'll take that comment as soft confirmation to myself that not a lot really happened past few weeks. It's hard to even find things to talk about if I'm honest, probably reflected in last week's video length. So yes, we'll see if we jump into something a little bit more substantial in episodes 4 and 5, but not without thanking the patrons first and foremost. So yes, I have a Patreon. You can access the Patreon in the description below. $6 a month gets you episodes 1 week early. Many people have accessed the Patreon, such as Mickey Babbers, AJ, Bananarama Hamadama-sama, Bisa, Bobbin, Capella, Chobo Copley, Dapper Dwarf, Darky26, Ed, Fancy Question Mark, Fleur Nightingale, Fruit, Fusel, Gloriana Tenebrae, Glank, Greybeard, Guanal, Gus N, Hans Peter, Ika, Iwayuru, Yako Yavanen, Jacob R, Jummy Boo, Joran, Kasogtha, Kelvin, Clem, Nosta, Kot Begemot, Lick H, Lou, Marco-san, Mistake L Chen, Molly Weinberger, Mr. Maniacs, Parnik, Pencil Sharp 333, Ragashingo, Ronlad BNK, Saint Lily, Sal, Sam1373, Skeleton, Tentacult Member, Waifu Overdose, Without a Net, Yuki Ali, Zach, Shinchi Oiyoshi, Akomancer, Binchi, Voodoo Chili, Aidan O'Brien, and Nico Lane. Thank you to everybody for giving me money. I enjoy the money. And yeah, I don't know, Apothecary Diaries time. There's some broad setups still coming. The twins, as I keep mentioning them, I don't know. I don't know if they're even twins or not. They probably are. So they're coming. I think they're big news. So whenever they do show up, they will be important. People there's a bit of an arms race going on in the Rio Palace with the amount of kind of people you have on your side, amount of maids and whatnot. Zhao Lan is learning to read. That's something that we're going to continue to watch. I'm seeing something in the background brewing story-wise about potentially an outbreak within the Rio Palace. That's just something that I'm reading on the tea leaves. We seem to be setting up dialogue to that end, I think. Lots of talk about sanitation. Lots of talk about how weird and isolated the Rio Palace is overall. I just can't help but feel like something like that will happen at some point. Again, still big players are playing the game. Sure is in the background probably somewhere doing something. Pregnancies are being targeted. Jinchi's doing Jinchi stuff, opening that school and whatnot. Emperor's doing Emperor things. I don't know, man. Let's just jump in here to episode 4 of the Apothecary Diaries right now. No more dilly-dallying. Let's go. Rightio, I have episode 4 up there ready to go. 24 minutes flat on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy using the Crunchyroll subs despite the translation error last week. It's never good with official stuff. It's never good with fan stuff. I don't know why even try. Anyway, picture and picture version in the description below regardless. Let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Radio, 3, 2, 1. Go. It's the opening, everybody. Please look forward to it. This is a really kind of inside baseball type criticism for me personally, but like, I don't like shows that just start with the opening off rip because I have nothing to talk about. I already set up the state of play early in the video. I don't know. There's only so many times I can talk about like Alice in Wonderland and the mirror aesthetic going on, self-reflection, poisonings. I like the rainbow effect there. I don't know, maybe if I liked the opening a little bit more, then it'd be a highlight. I don't know, I didn't seem to have that problem with the last opening in the show. I guess there's a few interesting things there. So we already saw that kind of one flower with the rash on the hand, that kind of manifests. So you would imagine that kind of montage through that segment would be indicative of other storylines. So potentially when those storylines pop up, we should bring back up the opening visual. Frog. Finally, frog. Finally bathing. Wet Jinchi. Don't like those words coming out of my mouth. That was odd. Indeed. Here we go. We're here. Or not. Just a little tease. Who is you again? Emperor's dad? Wasn't that the... Anyway. I'll remember. Mirror. Probably mirror juice. I'm seeing double here. 4 Gyokkyos. Mirrors are even, they're like super expensive. You never know. That's like a big like adult thing. You never knew how like expensive mirrors were. Always the little entrepreneur. Oh, special envoy. Correct. Twins. I know. They must be very rich and powerful, no? Or it's a metaphor because they're twins. Summer? Oh my god. What a summer flowing around. Okay. Okay, an acquaintance. Yeah. Okay. That's prison, no? I think they're introverts by force. Excuse me? What? I would agree. What? Yeah. Religiously sometimes. But it was something else. Weird. What is this story, Gaoshun? Tunnels. Look at this, like, fucking Professor Layton puzzle bullshit. Mm-hmm. My job is to watch a window all day. Jesus. Remember that the girls look very similar. Well, yeah, what is the point of the story? Well, this seems pretty exploitable. Okay, so, like, I like this element of Mao Mao trying to, like, metagame this to see who he's, like, actually talking about, what the point of the story is. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. Alright, she's locked back in. Price went up. Okay. Finally. Gold. What is it? Mao Mao, explain yourself. I'm glad that you're happy. I'm with Gao Shun. What do you mean? Oh, with the story. Alright, let's see. I'm curious about this. I really don't know. What are you, nuts? They were watching the same damn daughter. Oh, all that too. Told you they look similar. Correct. Again, especially from far away for the guys watching. You very quickly drew that. You're very talented, Mau Mau. Oh, classic. The duck rabbit. And then she snuck out and boned. Why not? Half your luck. Mm-hmm. She's putting it together. Always thinking, never acting is Mau Mau. What? This dude's always working. Sounds fake. Well, yeah, good point. I don't think he, yeah, does that part of it. Moon Fairy. Oh, yeah. I agree. About a moon fairy? Please find me the moon fairy. Love the music here. I know somebody else that, well, I know an old person from the Pleasure District is my point, but I was going to say that Mau Mau, dances in the moonlight as well. Yeah, because now she's an evil capitalist. She would match the age profile. Evil. Beautiful 70-year-old women? And we told him to fuck off. Well, it's not the authentic moon fairy. Oh. More technically than you think. She's fucking motor mouth this episode. She's gone crazy. It's pretty fucking important. Wow. I mean, at the very least, the old lady would have information, right? Pay up. The past is... Oh. The past is very non-specific. Oh, yeah. Looks pretty nice. I like it. Oh, more connections to this north side. Cause I was hot as shit. She used to be quite the catch. Build? Oh. Let's go. Yeah, big one in the middle. Huh. That's pretty insane, actually. What the hell? I would have beat the shit out of them. Stick it to the haters. What do you have? Explain yourself. Oh. It's very well made. And, you know. I see. Why are you in possession of it then? But he never forgot it. Yeah, I don't know why either. Maybe you just had a thing for big breasts. Which, I mean, sure. I mean, I'm not saying no either. Okay, well, who looks like that? Well, tall women. Shit, I'm almost 6 foot. Good 5'11" anyway. Maybe 5'10". Okay, let's find tall women. Twins! Oh, cousins. Maybe. I'm lost, but continue. Oh! Would that work, though? Ooh, intrigue. What's going on there? Lao Lan. No, this was... What was your name again? Shinsui? Something like that? You love bugs, I remember that. And some kind of moon butterfly. Half moon. Metaphor. Intriguing episode. So I've got a question. Didn't the envoys already meet with Jinshi, so kind of seeing Jinshi all dressed up wouldn't really be a surprise per se? I don't know. Anyway. Sure, go with it. The other thing is the whole breast issue. I guess it doesn't need to be exact. The other one is, okay, so they're cousins. I thought it was twins, but jury's still out. They do look very similar. Cousins still look similar, but you wouldn't imagine as similar as those two look. The other one is our little story about the sisters that look very similar as well. Why did Gao Shun ask that question? It's clearly about those special envoys, right? There's also these cutaway scenes where we see, like, we're with the Emperor for a second, and it's the special envoys with the Emperor. And it's Zhao Lan with the Emperor right there at the end, or it was the Emperor's dad, or something like that. Like, I need to go back and find that character, actually. Is it the Emperor's dad? I forget. I seem to remember him being a creep. Didn't he die? Anyway, I'll go check now, actually. Next time on. Ugh. Oh. Moon Fairy. Yeah, I might just go check that piece of information. Hold on. Yeah, so I mean, this is the guy I'm talking about, but I couldn't find confirmation. I'm pretty sure that the former Emperor is dead. Like, the Emperor's dad. Is he dead? I remember he used to touch kids or something. He wasn't like a good guy. Anyway, it's a bit hazy, so if I need correction on that, please provide it. But yeah, I mean, I'm stepping on my toes for later, but I believe that this is Gao Shun meeting the special envoys, right? And then very curiously, there's a guest room, right? Cool. And then over here we see kind of a person watching, and then another person watching from a window. So, I mean, is that like literally what we're talking about in the story? One of them got out and had a meeting that they shouldn't have had, right? And then obviously kind of Gao Shun's hiding information because he doesn't want to spill the beans to everybody all the time. That's something, right? We need to meet with these two young ladies. I think that'll elucidate things somewhat. There we go. That's the button, not the button that says anyway. Let's move on to the next episode. And there we go. Episode 5, The Moon Fairy. Up there ready to go. 24 minutes and 1 second on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy using the Crunchyroll subs. Picture in the description below. Let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Radio? 3, 2, 1. Go. Opening. Again. I'm recording. Yeah. We're not revealing information about the trouble behind these special envoys as of yet. Again, all we're giving is that they're kind of an important trading partner. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they didn't meet with Jinchi. Maybe I'm just making that up. Who's that other old guy? Is it Laolan's father? I should go see what he looks like. Maybe that's the old guy we're meeting with. Because he was plotting or something. He seemed suspect. I mean, I think we get to see cross-dressing Jinchi again, so that's going to be, you know, pretty epic. Can't wait. And yeah, of course, that makes sense if they used a mirror in their little thing and then gave everybody mirrors. That just makes sense. Sure. Okay. Gazing at something in the moonlight. Correct. I would agree. Things get exaggerated over time. Okay, bye. It's a good place to start. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Ah! I don't know. So it's Shisui, not Shin. Okay, gotcha. Chatty buddies. I'm looking for that peach. Hey, yo. Caterpillar. I guess if you say so. Well, nobody thinks like us. I certainly don't. I fucking hate bugs. Get them off me. But what does a caterpillar turn into, guys? So just projecting ahead, I think we're going to... Oh, moths, okay. I think we're going to use said moths in the performance somehow. Yeah, see how they're kind of... Yeah. Exactly like that. That's how we're going to use them in our little performance. Excuse me? Evil Mau Mau. Confused Shisui. Hey Jinchi, you're gonna cross-dress and dance with a bunch of moths. Is that okay with you? Ah, and fucking Xiao Lan's here too. Xiao Mao. They're always looking at diagrams or plans or something. Oh. Weird. I would imagine we would have used this at the end of the episode, but no, we're doing it now? Interesting. That seems like projection memo. He's getting gonged. No way. Well, Mama's all dolled up too. Took the freckles off. Fucking, I love her being smart. Oh, that was the one on the on their left too. The one that was confident. Okay. Aggressive. Who's the Emperor's brother? Ayla. We will smack a bitch too. We don't care. Oh, I like her. She's cunty. I think they do. You all seen Jinshi? It's pretty hot. Oh, dude. They were throwing shade? They were throwing mirrors? That's crazy. Yeah, they probably were now that I think about it. Gaze upon yourself and that you are not as beautiful as I. Well, I'll be the judge of that. What are you laughing at, Meow Meow? CG cart. Aileen and Ayla? Okay. I can definitely tell a difference in their voices. Whoa. Have a look at this. Whoa! Magic. Wow. Yeah. Correct. Looks very beautiful even now. What's the language? Dirty Diana. I should go back and have a look at what language they were speaking. Yeah, we just aura farmed in front of them. Okay, so that's what. Okay. Of course. But that made it shine. Oh, it also. Yeah, okay. Yeah, bet. Yeah. Yeah, so that came together quite well. But to what end? Enough to topple nations. Yes. Alright, well, shit. Fucking get over yourself. Nah, he's just being a bit of a diva. That's okay. Okay, yeah. Give me to what end? She's contemplating the box. Okay, I still don't know to what end. Okay, that's cool. Maybe they're just vain. So if there's somebody more beautiful than I, then especially from this nation, then they get a little bit upset about that. Kind of like Snow White style almost. Who is the fairest of them all? Fucking little Looney Tunes looking guy. Well, I mean, they came from the advance party of the envoy, so it could be them, no? They're clearly interested in the Emperor. Correct. Okay. So we're almost two steps beyond that conclusion. Indeed. It is that guy. Great shot. The previous emperor, yep. This emperor likes adults. Correct. Infertile. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a bunch of bullshit with the honey. Didn't we think it was Lynn or whatever her name was? Are you saying there is another party? Oh, okay. Yeah, bet. I mean, if there's some weird bullshit happening, it's probably her. Because she knows. She knows the secret. But you are. Mostly because you're bored as well. But it worked as a good summary as well. I liked that. Oh yeah, these people normally bitch you. No, they're just afraid now. Okay, yeah, fair enough. But you're new, aren't you? What's her name? Shin or something? She's trouble. Who the hell are you? Oh, okay. I'm good like that. What, to see the quack doctor? Oh, is this somewhere else? The clinic. The clinic is where Thinger came back from and then spoke with Leafa. North again. Okay. It's a very quick diagnosis. Another mention of infectious disease. Yeah, she seems switched on. I like this character already. Okay. Whatever you say. Quarantine? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, fucking get her ass. Oba-chan? Ah. She was kind of muttering to herself, actually. Jinji probably, like, walked over here just to bump into you anyway. Oh, like, first time getting here, like episode 1. I see. Interesting. Huh? If only you had a cock. Keep it secret. Keep it safe. Good luck. Good luck. What is that, fucking powder to snort? Oh. The secret is out. Mama's gonna get fucking fired here in a second. Is that it? Damn. Okay, is that where we're going with the story next? Like, oh no, Mau Mau makes medicine in secret and now somebody's found out about it and could potentially kick her out. Because that's not going to happen. Mau Mau's not going to leave the Rear Palace. I don't think so anyway. Very front-loaded episode. Obviously, all the best stuff in it is in the first 10 minutes of it. I enjoyed the Mau Mau re-summary of events. I thought that that was quite helpful. I also think that now that I've realized that that was Lao Lan's father that one of the envoys was meeting with, that is intriguing. Clearly, this is a bit of a power grab. Clearly, there's some element of, I'm the most beautiful one here. Let's move in and seize power and whatnot. It's a show of aggression to the other kind of ladies of the Rear Palace. Yeah, just lots of stuff. Lots of interesting stuff cooking there with those characters. She did ponder a box. I wonder what that box is. Clearly there was a box already that had... We saw a box previously that had a bunch of, like, dyes and... Not dyes, scents and that kind of thing. So it could be more I'm targeting pregnancy type stuff. Which, again, was the implication. If they were the... If the caravan was the lead before them, then that's probably why it was so, you know, outwardly aggressive towards people like that. Okay, seems like we're going pretty intense next up. Yeah, seems like we're doing this Crystal Pavilion thing again with Lifa. Interesting. I will return for some analysis on those 2 episodes. And we're back, episodes 4 and 5 watched. I think we're getting a little bit more interesting, but again, admittedly, it still is a slow burn. I think the most interesting aspect is the actual introduction of these 2 characters that now have names, Ayla and Aylin. Very similar names. They look very similar. They have different personalities, though, and we suspect that they may be twins, despite claiming that they're cousins. we're going to find out, I guess. But these two characters coming to the fore, throwing a spanner in the works, introducing a bunch of questions about what their actual motive is here. Is it a power grab? Do they want to, potentially poison Gyokyo? Was the mirror provocation? All this other kind of stuff, right? That's getting a little bit more interesting. That's getting a little bit more big picture, especially these backdoor shady deals that they're doing with people at night, which is kind of the premise behind the kind of mystery that we give Mao Mao this episode. For me personally, I'm still failing to see how the Moon Fairy is like a middle finger to them or incenses them somewhat. Again, I'm seeing a Snow Beauty Snow White type story here, whereby a mirror is involved. Who is the fairest of them all? I find out that there is somebody fairer than I. Hardy, it's also Jinshi. Just fun. That pisses me off. That makes me want to double down and do this poisoning thing even more. Also quite interesting is the fact that Sure may have been working in the background with Lin back in the day to poison Gyokyo, potentially, when she was having Lingli or whatever the hell. And also, now we also know that Sure was targeting Jinshi, and then kind of Mao Mao stops herself thinking upon that point, like she has done in the past. Who am I but a, food taster? Who am I to query such things? I do not belong here. Should I express myself? Should I use my talents? All these questions that we have done many times in the story of the Apothecary Diaries. But yeah, no, I caught myself chuckling a number of times in these two episodes, which is normally a good sign. I was attentive throughout. I'm interested to see where the story goes. I think the Jinchi cross-dressing stuff's cool. I like that we're involving the old lady from the Verdigris house. I thought that was a fun touch as well. I do feel like constantly, and a little bit more than last week, we are presenting little things that are, growing into bigger things as we uncover more of what's actually going on in this arc. It's all coming together a little bit more. It is a slow burn, but we're getting there, I think, for sure. And yeah, let's dive back through here. What else can I say? I thought that this was a production step up. I thought these two episodes looked quite nice, especially the Jinchi dance sequence, which probably a lot of the budget went into. Obviously wasn't as high budget and impressive as the dance sequence of Mao Mao during the end of last season, but it was in the same ballpark. I really liked the colors, if anything else. And yeah, let's dive back through here for sure. So for starters, I think there's a lot of stuff hidden in plain sight very early in these episodes. So, like, we'll normally get a flash, and then into Mao Mao and where she starts to impact the story and her POV. And we'll only ever get these shots of meetings and not what actually occurs in them. So now we have Isla and Ailin meeting with somebody. This is Gao Shun even? I don't even know. They're just chilling in their guest room, I guess is the point. Whereby one of them gets up, that person then leaves, the room is on watch, but unbeknownst to us, she is having a meeting with Lao Lan's father. Now, I need to catch up with this guy. I think he's very important. He has strong relations to the Empress Dowager, I think. But again, it's been a long time since I've seen season 1. All I remember is that this guy was just broadly bad news, I think. And again, he's all about grabbing for power. He's probably also rooting against Gyokyo and Lifa, potentially, to the point where you guys may have a common enemy, a common motive, than maybe the premise behind this meeting, especially if Gao Shun is now running interference after hearing about this meeting happening, considering how much that Gao Shun and Jinshi are in the Gyokyo camp. Just playing with some ideas there. I'm not sure we'll go any specific direction there, but they could be plotting a downfall right now of sorts. Yeah, potentially. Again, much like the structure of a lot of these episodes, then we jump into the Mao Mao portion with something tangentially related to whatever we just saw. It's kind of easy to pick up this formula in episodes now that I've seen, 30 of them, almost? Something like that. We do this quite a bit. And it's a mirror, or I like to call it a metaphor mirror. Like, this is a... these two characters look very similar, and if I give you a mirror, it's indicative of that stuff. The mirror is also used in their little scheme that we see play out later on. The mirror being a gift from the special envoys also helps Mao Mao put together what Gao Shun is actually asking her to do later on in the scene. As I've talked about before with this show, I like that extra level to conversations where Mao Mao is operating, or muttering to herself on a different level. She's like, okay, I get the question he's asking, but it's the why of him asking the question. It's why did he come to me? What is the point of this? That I think that she really excels in and makes the show quite interesting from a writing point of view. I talked about this in the reaction as well, but mirrors are one of those things that you don't realize are super expensive until you actually have to buy a mirror or replace a mirror, right? They're expensive. Even cheap mirrors are fucking big money, for sure. And if you want a nice one, like an ornate mirror or some kind of antique, then it's going to set you back into thousands of dollars. Like, that's insane. Anyway, you wouldn't think it, but it's an appropriate high-class gift, especially if you want to be showing off and all that other kind of stuff. But as we learn in the next episode, this mirror is also two-faced, right? It is a provocation. It is I am the most beautiful woman in the world. Gaze upon your lack of beauty compared to mine. And in that way, it's kind of sassy. This whole show is kind of sassy like that. It's very it's very Twitter. I don't know if I could explain that any better than that. And again, I've talked about a lot of this stuff as well. A mirror is also a look at your own self. It's a look internally. It's a look at your reflection. What is staring back at you? You know, who am I? Who am I really? It's about clarity and a lot of other things metaphorically. As I theorized with the opening, kind of gazing upon yourself, right, is the same at looking what made you, looking into that stuff, looking into one's past potentially, and maybe this mirror motif will continue to follow Jinshi as we potentially go down that backstory line. Maybe. We'll see. I think it's a natural extension of the show from the makeup stuff, right? It's all about appearances and, you know, looking pretty and hiding things and obfuscating things and whatnot. And yeah, poisons versus healing, makeup versus making yourself less beautiful, the mirror, what role does that play in all of that? Yeah, just fascinating on that kind of level of the story as well, I think, and probably worthy of more discussion from myself, if I'm honest. This is a very meat and potatoes thing for TV writing, but I like that we're doing it. There's pretty constant reminders here and in the next episode of the state of play. Some nice reminders to the audience that may not be paying as much attention as myself, or, you know, any other super fan, somebody that maybe just be watching this on TV every week in Japan, which is, again, the target audience. These kind of things are nice. Just, hey, this is what's going on. Even, you know, with TV, right, there's no guarantee that somebody is watching from episode 1 all the time. They may have just flicked it on, you know? So, again, something like this, a reminder of something that is pretty obvious, is nice, right? 4 high-ranking concubines, of course, Gyokyo, Lifa, Li Shu, and Lao Lan, of course. Yeah, look at me, off the dome, off rip. Another thing we can imply from the mirror, and how expensive the mirror is that they're pretty rich and that they're a pretty important client, this special envoy, right? I think this gets established later on as well, that they're big news. They're important, and they're full of money, and again, the extravagance of the caravan was only the beginning. Then we get into the Gao Shun portion. He's going to ask Mao Mao some leading questions. Through this sequence, Mao Mao is also going to figure out what it is he's actually talking about. Again, the final piece of the puzzle there for her personally is seeing the special envoy, finding out that the special envoy are women, and that there's 2 of them, and that they look quite similar. That's when all the pieces fall into place for her, but I think that happens a little bit later as well. Also love Hong Niang here, right, who insists on staying in the same room as Gao Shun and Mao Mao, but loses a lot of interest once she finds out that Gao Shun has a wife and child. They may have thought that this would have been some kind of hanky-panky type situation going on here, and I like that you're just watching out. That's okay. That's pretty cool. So now we see Gao Shun making up some kind of bullshit story, a backstory for 2 characters that don't exist, that were kind of doted over by the parents. When they came of age, they were basically kept in isolation, but lo and behold, one of the girls ended up pregnant. How is that possible, especially when they're not permitted to go outside? Trickery. It was a trick of the light, literally. And then, yeah, I like the art style here is the other thing I wanted to say. I feel like we've done this previously in the show with the silhouetting and whatnot. Nice kind of, what would you say? Almost like a watercolor filter put over it as well. I just think it's appropriate for a fantasy sequence, for a flashback, for something of that ilk. And we've done a lot of that in the show thus far as well. This was one of the telltale signs for me visually before it got confirmed. There was a guy on the balcony here. We saw early in the episode there was another guy on the balcony. Clearly we're talking about the special envoys themselves. I guess you could look at this part of the story and say that, again, it is quite onerous. We are literally setting up, as I said in the episode, like a Professor Layton puzzle, whereby a character is here, and how is it possible that one of them escaped? Again, the mirror, but it's a little bit much. It's a little bit less organic than I would have liked. But I think, again, the interesting part of the conversation is a little bit more the Mao Mao mind games. Finding out what Gao Shun is actually talking about is more than the mystery of the mirror, so to say. That's where I find the interesting content anyway. There was an interesting part here where Mao Mao talks about almost like a mental pregnancy of some kind, where a woman of the kind of brothel became convinced that she was carrying the baby of a man that she loved, and her period stopped, and her breasts grew, and there started to be some bloating in the stomach potentially. It's weird how the body can manifest that kind of stuff if the mental state is kind of there too. Again, that could just be total kind of hogswash or something. It could be totally nothing, but I feel like some of that hysteria stuff historically has been kind of true. I don't know. Again, there's probably always a scientific explanation there. I just thought it was quite interesting because, again, we may circle back to that considering Verdigris House is quite an important location with various characters and whatnot. I really like this moment as well where, again, we're talking about the part of the mystery, which is the pregnancy. Are you sure that she was pregnant? It's like, yeah, I'm sure. It's like, what a weird thing to say. What an odd thing to say. Normally, if this was an actual situation that you're describing and not a fake scenario, you would be like, maybe that is the case. Maybe I should investigate that portion further. But no, we're not talking about a pregnancy, we're talking about a secret meeting. Yeah, rewatching all of this, it's very obvious to see that, again, Gao Shun is hiding something important, obfuscating information. Rewatching it again, it's very obvious that these people in a guest room, it's like if they were the daughters of some well-to-do guy, they wouldn't be in a guest room. That's odd. There's also the element of the embroidery. I think we mentioned later on that embroidery is kind of a highfalutin hobby of foreign people, of Western cultures, so to say. So, again, you're putting two and two together. It's another kind of point in the pile of this not being what it seems. Oh yes, this part was odd with the bull's gall, with the gallbladder, that apparently Mao Mao was promised, along with the ox bezoar, whatever it was. Must remember the very end of last season too in that regard, for sure. Rewatching this, I feel like this may have been a tactic from Gao Shun. Mao Mao was mulling something over, and pretty visually too. She was like, all that kind of stuff, right? Then he notices that. You're not really thinking about what I hope you're thinking about. Okay, here's this, a little distraction from me to you. But again, seeing an excited Mao Mao is always a treat. Somebody that normally likes to keep it pretty low-key. It's nice to see her explode with happiness every now and again. I like the steam out of the ears too here, I think. Yeah, right there. Very cute. Yeah, I mean, maybe I underrated this mystery a little bit. It is quite good. I like the use of the mirror, and then the connection of the use of the mirror to who the actual people were in question later on from Mao Mao. I think that's all very smart. I think the part where it becomes a little bit extra is the embroidery and like the duck/rabbit that we were drawing. Like that's a famous optical illusion. It feels anachronistic in a way that I don't like. But yeah, kind of one guy saying that, the daughter is embroidering a rabbit and the other guy saying that the embroidery is a duck is quite funny. It being the same daughter, very funny. Well, not even daughter, the same envoy, but yeah, I don't know. Take it or leave it, I guess. It's fine. Yeah, this was the part I was talking about. This was information from Mao Mao's father, Luamin, right? That guy? Well, not. Her stepfather, I guess. The dad that stepped up, damn it. And yeah, we end that scene with Mao Mao kind of thinking to herself that, maybe there was something bigger going on here, some amount of espionage a guest being a spy and whatnot, but I'm not going to question that and get myself too involved. That's that classic Mamo we've come to know and love. Edge towards something, like, oh, this could be the case, and then pulling herself right back. And very quickly from there, we're at the midpoint of the episode now, we then move on to building up this part about the otherworldly beauty that sheds pearls as tears. And I find that this is a weird split in the episode. I feel like this section, this 2-episode chunk, could have been paced better if this was the start of a new episode and we ended the kind of whole otherworldly beauty that sheds pearls as tears segment at that end point in the middle of the next episode. If we just take that chunk and make that a full episode, I guess, a little bit more focused in that regard, and a little bit more, or a little bit less serialized, a little bit less manga feeling, I guess. Again, it's not bad, and I'm happy that I watched both episodes in tandem to get majority of that story. It's just not the way that I would have done it, I guess. Also, again, taking a big step back and considering everything, it's pretty clear to see what the special envoys were doing here now, right? We've heard of a distant old legend of this part of the world, right? Something that couldn't possibly be true, right? That there is this otherworldly beauty, that she's this moon fairy that existed way back in the day and was beautiful, and you know, it's been kind of mythified and stuff. Let's give them an impossible task, basically. Let's say, hey, can you produce somebody this beautiful, right? Just historically beautiful, you know? And if you can't, you know, make a performance that kind of captures that and is up to that level, then hey, we have more credence when we walk up to the Emperor and say, we've seen better. Also, I'm hot as fuck. I guess that's their major plan here by tasking Jinshi with this kind of thing. Again, I want to sit down with these characters and get a good look at their actual motives. Hopefully that will come in time. I don't know how Mao Mao and those characters are ever going to be in the same room to discuss things, but maybe they'll recognize her as the girl that was there with the Moon Fairy. Again, we will see as time progresses. And again, now having seen next episode when Jinshi mentions such a term, an otherworldly beauty, to Mao Mao, the first person that Mao Mao thinks about is Jinshi. It becomes ironic when Jinshi is actually used in the little ploy, in the plan. I think that's some smart writing. And Gyokyo's very smart too. I like her little giggle here upon this interaction. I feel like she just gets a lot out of seeing these two interact. She knows that Jinshi likes Mao Mao. Mao Mao's kind of stubborn in that regard. She just thinks the whole thing's hilarious. That's very endearing from a character perspective, from me personally. And yeah, I'm not sure that I need to recount as much the specifics of this full story. Apparently, way back in the day, there was this beautiful woman. Apparently, she was a courtesan from the pleasure district. She danced in the moonlight and was like a moon fairy. This story has been passed down from wherever these two are from, which again, comments if you could help me in that regard, that'd be great, whatever language they speak during next episode too. And yeah, this is kind of, you know, the parameters that we need to operate within if we're going to reproduce such a performance. And yeah, maybe blowing my load too early. Yeah, maybe I'll leave that. I'll leave the kind of Diana stuff for a little bit later. I think that's quite interesting too. Park that. I feel like I could have told this from the hair too, when we kind of show off that dancing character in that little scene there before, but hardy ha, it was 50 years ago and it was actually the old lady of the verdigris house that was the beautiful dancer. Again, goes to show that she's been at this thing for a very long time. She's played that game before, been a dancer, and is still kind of prospering to this day. You go, old lady of the verdigris house. And this was something that I misunderstood during the reaction. Initially, I was like, why don't they just get the envoys to meet with the beautiful old lady? It's like, no, we don't want to see the woman responsible now. We want to replicate the performance. So obviously she can't come out there again 50 years later and do that same thing. We're going to need a different beautiful woman. And apparently none of these beautiful women were up to snuff. They weren't an otherworldly beauty, of course. Jinshi is the only otherworldly beauty here. And it is very interesting, right? Because now from this description, I want to see an otherworldly beauty. Mao Mao assumes that the special envoy must be a guy. But no, it's a little bit more vain than that. It's not, I want to see a beauty because I like hot chicks. It's, I want to see a beauty because I want to mog everybody. I want to, like, beauty check you people. And even your most beautiful women cannot compare to I. That's kind of the motivation here. Where, again, initially it'd be easy to, again, in such a male-dominated society, it'd be easy to assume that you just want to see hot chicks. But it's deeper than that, I think. Should I talk about this? I think I will. Are we going to coin the term Chekhov's penis? Mao Mao seems to be bringing it up a lot. Jinchi's lack of penis. Lack of cock and balls and stuff. Actually, I don't know what the situation is down there. Is it a whole cock? Is it a balls? I don't really know. To the point where I'm foreseeing a scene in my head where Mao Mao finds out about it somehow and is shocked. And then, again, that then confirms every other rumor. I feel like that is a scene we're setting up pretty squarely here. Chekhov's penis, let's call it that. Once a penis is brought up, it must be revealed to the audience. That is our screenwriting rule that we must follow. Anyway, Jinchi is grasping at straws here, so let's help him out a little bit. Let's bring in the old lady from the Verdigris house to explain her side of the story at least. Maybe we can get some clues from there and actually plan this performance properly. And just in general, this is a moment I'll take pause to appreciate the cast of the show and how broadly interesting all the characters are. I like you. I want to see you succeed. I think you're funny when you're on screen. Introducing this character again in the here and now is points in favor of the episode, I think. I do like how Season 1 has set up this eclectic cast of characters that we can call upon at any time to explain certain things or be involved in certain other plot developments. Characters like Lihaku and Pairin are perfect in this regard as well. But yes, as the old lady's explaining her side of the story, we figure what used to be the old setting for this performance as well, right? So there didn't used to be the castle here. Other places used to be built up a little bit more. So we went by this remaining ruin, which is over here, presumably. And we set up the performance here because we didn't really have anywhere else appropriate. So now what do we notice here? It's pretty, like, swampy. It's a place where bugs could hang out and proliferate and whatnot. There needs to be methods against that, right? Mama also quickly puts together that this was the north side of the current palace, right? The current rear palace. That location that we keep on coming back to. And even the bugs having a role here, which kind of involves Shisui, which is just good writing, I think. We're involving all the myriad pieces we've put up thus far. Here's another thing I'm noticing on the rewatch that is pretty interesting, is the story of what happened 50 years ago as well, and how it kind of reflects what's happening now. The old lady, whatever her name is, she was the most beautiful woman at the time. She was very tall, very curvy, of course, and she was the talk of the town. She was the best courtesan in the pleasure district. She had haters because of that, right? People hated her because she looked so nice, and it kind of turned a little bit bitchy. There was some backstabbing going on. There was some sabotage at play. It's funny how 50 years later those similar things are happening with sabotage and whatnot around beauty and that whole kind of situation, I guess, right? It goes to show that some things never change. There will always be kind of jealousy and grabs for power and, whatnot based on, looks. Again, that's what the special envoys are all on about as well. Again, these idiots that tampered with her costume, rubbing insect carcasses on it. The irony there is that inadvertently made the performance as special as it was because all the moonlight moths came out and gave it this otherworldly feel. Again, much like the special envoys are setting up this impossible situation, almost sabotaging the current consorts that are there before that sabotage turns around and becomes their downfall based on the actions of Mao Mao and Jinchi. I guess I don't really understand this element of it. Why did the kind of important other guy commission a painting and then somehow she ended up with it? I don't know why the old granny ended up with this painting, I guess. Wait, he sent this to you through Caravan? That must have been... You must have made quite the impression on that man, I'll say that. This is another thing. I feel like this whole tall woman idea is a little bit... It seems a little bit too set-up-y to make Jinshi the person that we choose, which is funny. Again, ultimately, if we're getting to a funny place, then that's fine. But you probably could have had anybody in there and it would have just worked fine, I think. Why does it need to be a tall woman specifically? Don't know. There's no other dancers to balance against, I guess. So, like, why do they need to be tall? Oh, yeah, we kind of say that the long limbs make the dance look better. Yeah, I'll buy it, sure, whatever. Whatever you say, show. Yeah, okay, the envoys are also tall too, so if you have somebody small, they may appear like children. Won't seem like again, I'm the mature beauty here. We need another mature beauty to compare against. But again, the reveal before that the envoys were female, the envoys, plural, that implies that there's two of them, like twins, potentially. Then again, Mao Mao starts to put together the fact that, hey, that story was actually about them. And then I really like the kicker at the end. Obviously, we're going to use Jinshi in our little scheme as our model, as our dancer. Very, very cool. Oh, I forgot to mention this. So this is a scene at the very end of the episode where the Emperor is meeting with Lao Lan for some reason, and one of Lao Lan's ladies-in-waiting with some kind of plan. Now, is this a little smile? Or is this a little like, oh my god, I'm shocked. Oh no. She still remains a very hard one to read. Also something about a moonlight butterfly here too. Dark Souls reference, I guess. Yeah, this may be continuing on from that special envoys meeting, whether it was Ayla or Aylin, and that meeting with Lao Lan's father. Just one to watch. I don't know what's happening here. Again, is this a little smile? Is this a little like, ooh, we're scheming something? Or is this like, I'm shocked upon hearing information? This is yet to crack yet. You as a character is yet to crack yet. We've never even really sat down with you and had a real conversation. That's still cooking away. Just keep this in mind as we continue, I guess. We start the next episode with Mao Mao kind of pondering mythology and fables and how, you know, certain aspects about stories and the realistic explanation behind it gets obscured by time and lack of knowledge. Again, this is just set up for the fact that we're going to use the moths, basically. There is a scientific explanation behind this thing that may seem magical. Again, this is pretty well, you know, trodden ground for the show, I would say. Mama then makes her way to the scene of the crime 50 years ago to do some investigation, running into Shisui along the way, our resident bug expert, who is instrumental in figuring out the plan. Also, shout out to the Zhao Lan helping as well. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, Shisui is like a mirror to Mao Mao. Your obsession is just with kind of bugs as opposed to drugs. Bugs and drugs we have here. And yeah, again, your certain expertise becomes important. I like that. I don't know. That's something. Could keep coming back as well if this north side and bugs are going to keep being plot points. And yeah, there we go. They grow into moths. They glitter in the moonlight. It makes you feel like you've wandered into paradise. Yeah. We're putting it all together, folks. And yeah, this as well is kind of surprised structurally in the episode, I guess. We learn that crucial information about the moths, and then there's kind of a montage of us kind of building up to the event, and then lo and behold, it just kind of starts. It's on. We're there, you know? Like, that's kind of crazy, no? Again, I just thought that this segment here would take place here. And that's fine. That was a misconception from me. I probably don't talk about it enough, but the music is also really good. We do a little bit of a musical montage there as we set up the stage, and it's quite effective. Again, Kevin Penkin, right? Among other people. It's very well done. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for your music. I like Mao Mao being a goblin here off to the side. I feel like it's a good framing device for her actually seeing the politics at play. She's almost watching the performance in the crowd rather than the performances themselves. A nice kind of voyeuristic vibe to it. It's kind of, I don't know, it's cool. It's like, again, the performance is actually over here with these characters, right? Again, this whole thing just screams show off, right? We have our blind all the way up, showing off our faces and our visages to the Emperor, which isn't something that any of the other kind of consorts here are doing. There's the big display later on, of course, where Isla walks out and basically calls the Emperor out herself, and I do think that Mao Mao is projecting somewhat with a little bit of this stuff, right? The lady further away seems to be the quiet type. You seem a little bit more confident in your good looks, like you think that you may be the most beautiful woman alive. Obviously, a little bit of color comes with that as well. You're wearing the blue jewelry, a little bit more subdued, a little bit quieter, still like the ocean, as opposed to unpredictable and passionate and flaming like the red, like fire, right? But again, you two are clearly working towards the same purpose, a power grab of some kind. The Emperor, Lao Lan's father, something, a lot's going on there. Much like all the other characters in the show as well, they have fucking tig old biddies, so that's cool. I do admire the Apothecary Diaries for having kind of fan service going both ways. There's a lot of pretty guys, a lot of strong guys too. A Like, what's his face? What's that guy's name? Lihaku. That guy's cool, I think. Yeah, everyone's just hot. I think that that's a cool aspect of the show. And Mao Mao here is kind of theorizing that they may not be cousins, but instead twins. Why lie about that? That's an interesting kind of can of worms as we learn more about these characters as the show continues. And there we have it. In the middle of the performance, we have one of the twins, one of the special envoys, getting up and talking to the Emperor directly. I do not want to be so far apart at such a wonderful party. I would like to be closer to speak with you, essentially propositioning the Emperor right in front of everybody else. It is aggressive, very, very aggressive, but they also know that they have power. We can't really fuck with these people because of how important they are economically. Like, there's a lot going on here. And essentially, they want a fucking two-man with the Emperor and the brother. Again, the brother is always never around. Hardy, hardy, ha. Yeah, we know who the brother is, right? Of course. And again, it becomes obvious to Mao Mao now that the special envoy's real goal is to get the Emperor and his brother. And also involving a political marriage there too. You're very forthright. You pull her back into line. I like this kind of dynamic between the twins here. But even that in of itself was performative. It got the intended effect on everybody else. They're like, who the fuck are you? Fuck off. All that kind of shit, right? It's all very catty. I like it. Also, Hong Yang won't hesitate to fucking slap a bitch either, so, you know. Neither will Mao Mao, for the record. Yeah, and again, that's where we're putting it all together. That's what the mirrors were about as well. They basically wanted to show off and steal the Emperor out from everybody else, rattle the cage, stir the pot, whatever other metaphors you want to go for. In that way, it's pretty obvious to see what the Moon Fairy is about as well. As I've explained, it's this impossible task. You cannot produce such a beauty that surpasses ours, because, again, you're just not on our level, and we're going to, you know, prove that, basically. I feel like there's a really nice irony of the Emperor's brother being the kind of, like, one of their objects of their plan, one of their, like, you know, goals, and that person be ultimately the person that thwarts them, that tricks them into thinking that there's this kind of moon goddess out. That's just fun writing. It's, yeah, quite enjoyable. And then, yeah, okay, so it's really fun, right? Because Mao Mao's here off to the side with like a staff almost. She looks like some kind of witch or priestess before conjuring Jinshi right in front of them. This beauty of the moonlight. Ooh. Hang on, 903. You go back here and have a look. This is also the very start of the opening, no? Yeah, look at her in the moonlight, shushing, pointing up to the moon. All those different locations. Yeah, fantastic stuff. And then, yeah, we go for a dance for a bit. As I said, probably the animation highlight of the season thus far, but not the show. I still prefer some of the stuff in season 1 in that regard. But yeah, I do like how they get rattled. These characters are a little bit annoying and presumptuous up to this point, so it's nice to see them get humbled by our boy. I think there's also something in the whole dancing in the moonlight stuff that's been going on in season 1 and channeling that into now. Of course, episode 2 in season 1, or episode 3. Dancing in the Moonlight, there was the lady that basically manipulated things to be with the one she loved, whose name is escaping me. But that was an awesome story. I really liked that back in the very early portions of the show. And obviously, at other occasions, we've had conversations with our duo in the Moonlight, which were quite evocative, as well as obviously Mao Mao dancing in the moonlight as well at the end of last season, kind of channeling all those kind of experiences into this scene in the here and now is really quite nice, especially the Arduo stuff. Again, her Arduo and Jinchi kind of looking quite similar was, yeah, again, that was part of the mystery being unraveled there. Yeah, and again, this little witch Mao Mao just points at the moon and says, Diana. After, again, please get me up to date on the language they're speaking too. Okay, here we go. In Roman mythology, Diana was the goddess of the moon, the hunt, and wild animals, the twin sister of Apollo and daughter of Jupiter and Latona. Yeah, also fertility, childbirth, which again are historically associated with the moon and femininity, of course, so also wild beasts, which is a weird one to throw in there. So again, what part of the world are they from? Are they from some portion of Rome back in the day? The Roman Empire, which was wide-spanning, of course, back in the day. Yeah, I would like to know the history there. That'd be quite fascinating. And yeah, this was the part I wanted to bring up as well. So yeah, we say Diana, the name of a moon goddess in a Western legend. That is... okay. So we aspire to be next to the Emperor. We aspire for power and, influence and control and being the most beautiful person on planet Earth, being the queen among queens and all this other stuff, right? Again, pretty high ambitions, right? But no, you can never compare to a god. No matter how much queendom you desire, we will always be kind of second to these deities, to these otherworldly beings. And again, that's kind of the ego check that kind of works into it from Mao Mao's perspective, right? Well, you guys want to be queens. Here's our god, Here's somebody that surpasses even you. And I really like that element of it, like a king to a god type stuff. I think, yeah, quite nicely done show, enjoyable. And then from there we go into a little bit of the explanation, which I think I've pretty thoroughly done already. There's the pheromone aspect to it too, which is also, again, thematically relevant with the girls trying to attract the emperor and whatnot. So males and females and that side of it, I think that's all very pointed. What I wanted to bring up is how beautiful Jinchi looked, and then of course by the very end of it, seeing him in his kind of drowned rat state is a come back to earth moment, right? The actual person behind this and not the performer. I feel like we constantly see this with Jinchi. I kind of remember a similar thing when he had to do his kind of ceremony in last season as well. We saw a different side of Jinchi, a Jinchi that was very official and important. But again, we see that other side. We see what hides kind of behind the veneer in a way that I find, again, enjoyable. Jinchi's just fantastic here too. Clearly has feelings for Mao Mao. Doesn't like, I guess what would you say? The underselling of his masculinity in her eyes, right? Oh, you're a very pretty boy. You've been taking drugs to that effect, I think. To that end, I mean, like, he maybe has a bit of a complex about that when it comes to Mao Mao. Doesn't like kind of Mao Mao seeing him like this. Again, I want to be with Mao Mao. This, not seeming as manly and as attractive as a result, may kind of disadvantage me in the long run. I don't know. Again, he's like, he doesn't understand his feelings all too well. He's like a teenager. Now, again, I've spent a lot of time here because I think that this is the interesting portion of the episode, right? This portion. The rest of it's kind of like set up or whatever. It's kind of, who cares? A lot of it's also recap, so we don't really need to recap the recap. Again, the interesting part of this portion is kind of Mao Mao reconsidering things and re-summarizing, and in that way, maybe getting closer to the truth before pulling herself back, as she likes to do. What I wanted to talk about is she's pondering a box, that being Isla, because of the red. Now, is this box the same box that had the fragrances in it from that kind of cutaway before? In a previous episode, most probably. Does this look mean that you're going to double down on the poisonings of Gyokyo and whatever else? The prevention of said pregnancies. Next up, we see Zhao Lan, but briefly, you're going to be in the first generation of school students. So the school is up and running. That's great. You're continuing to learn how to read. And yeah, as I said in the episode, I like the framing device for this whole kind of recap section, being that Mao Mao's just kind of bored. So she reconsiders things. She thinks about it fully. I mentioned in the reaction, I like that the show is 2 steps ahead with this scene here, considering that the special envoys were the people that brought these particular products in through the caravan, right? These disadvantageous products for the current consorts. And again, it's sneaky and subtle at first, but it is ultimately detrimental, kind of mirroring what they're doing even now, right? It's not outwardly aggressive yet, but it is like, I don't know about all that. Yeah, again, point being, like, the show's 2 steps ahead. I would have thought that they were still struggling to figure out that the special envoys were antagonistic. No, they're already like, yeah, that's probably the case, but let's give it a watch and act for now. In Mao Mao's summary, starting here, she starts with Lao Lan, who's probably the current most powerful, kind of because of the father. Shisho is his name. And again, important, making moves, all that other kind of stuff. The Emperor visits her often, but it seems to be mostly out of obligation to this powerful guy, rather than actual love, which I think it is with Gyokyo, at least a little bit more. Of course, Lifa's on the comeback after what happened, of course. And I think anecdotally, Lifa's probably the most attractive, right? Probably. Look at her. She's probably the most attractive. I don't know. Gyokyo's up there too. Lishu, again, more like powerful family stuff. The previous emperor used to be a creep, but this emperor isn't. Prefers his women to be a little bit more voluptuous. You're not quite there yet. And lucky for you, he hasn't put his hands on you, so, you know. And then, of course, Gyokyo, who we know quite well. We're in her camp. She has one child and another on the way with the current emperor. She's foreign. Her homeland is booming because of that. That's all great. I do think it was interesting terminology that we said that her homeland kind of needs this. She's kind of doing this for her people because their land is infertile. Their land would struggle without the support of the emperor, right? So Gyokyo's got a lot riding on her back is the point. And again, infertility, we'll see where that goes. Oh no, there's been attempts made on Gyokyo's life. Is that going to happen again? I don't know. I'm anxious about Gyokyo and the kid, for the record. Then we had the whole honey thing. We're recapping that, which is nice. There was also another attempt made that was by Lin, I believe her name was, but who taught her how to poison, potentially one Sure. And then Sure, right? We still haven't caught back up with her. Why did she target Jinshi? And then stopping herself, I'm just a taster, there's no need for me to worry about this. Classic Mao Mao stuff. Before being pulled into the sickness plot. Now, first we meet up with these ladies, where I think we're going to go into the Crystal Pavilion after this episode, in the next episode, so let's park a lot of this stuff for now. I like that these three are still scared. The last time that Mao Mao was there for a long period of time, she kind of slapped the fuck out of a bitch, so they've still got that memory there. You clearly don't. You're clearly also got a character design, so you're one to watch. I think you have beef with Lifa, but we'll see what goes on there. Notably, she wasn't wearing any perfumes, which is suspect. We'll see, I guess. From here, then we have the cold plot with, I believe your name's Ailan. And yeah, obviously you don't want sick people to be around the baby and, you know, the important one, the concubine. So let's get you out of here. You can go to the clinic. We don't know about the clinic. We've never been to the clinic. And yeah, the clinic seems to be trouble. We also mentioned here that Mama's going to make medicine for you before going to the clinic, which you will then take at the clinic. This will be a crucial kind of element of the cat being out of the bag, so to say, in the end of the episode, which again is leading on to future stuff. Mama's making medicine. She isn't supposed to be. That's going to be drama, of course. Is anybody going to come out and vouch for her? Are they able to do so? Gender roles in society. All sorts of important stuff going on there. For the record, this lady's super switched on. The lady at the clinic, she's the one that sniffs the medicine on Mao Mao. Maybe like an older version of Mao Mao. I also like this scene later on, as I'm kind of skipping through this last little portion. I do find it interesting that, again, you almost like ponder what role women have as they age in the Rear Palace, and this being one of them. But again, the inability for us to go further than that and pursue being a doctor and pursue medicine like that is an inhibitor to be sure. Yeah, it's all very interesting, I think. Also, yeah, she has a very specific VA, that being this lady at the clinic. I feel like she will become a bit more of a character. I do like Mao Mao muttering to herself before running into Jinchi too. I feel like I see that quite often. Kind of mirrors their first meeting, Mao Mao muttering to herself and Jinchi taking notice. Again, that's the reason why they even became involved. Yeah, but I mean, this interaction here isn't all that much to write home about. There was an interesting part there where Jinchi was kind of sad upon being reminded about Mao Mao's entry into the Rear Palace, that she was stolen and whatnot. Interesting. But mostly this is just context and exposition from Gao Shun, explaining that men can only be doctors, men can only make medicine. Why have I been allowed to? Because we've kept it on the hush-hush. This will become important going into next episode. And again, with this particular plot point, I don't really want to blow my load right now. So again, we'll dive into that a little bit more as it comes up next episode. Why were they making an exception for Mao Mao? There's also a political thing that we describe here. We've stopped making as many eunuchs since the new emperors came into power. Obviously, now because of that, there's less doctors. If only men can be doctors and only eunuchs can be in the Rear Palace, and we're not creating enough eunuchs, then, like, we're going to run out of doctors. This is all setting up, no? Again, I'm tying this back into my, like, quarantine storyline, my infection spreading storyline, I guess. The lack of doctors in the Rear Palace, too. Dunno, can't be good. And yeah, more evidence to Chekhov's penis here at the very end too. Ailan takes the medicine again, blah blah, who made that for you? Mao made the medicine. We're gonna find out about that as I hit as many buttons as possible to finish our session here today. Yeah, plenty to ponder on. Yeah, I really liked some of the stuff with the twins. I thought that was really well written. The goddess element to all of it, the real intentions behind their plays. I thought all that stuff was fascinating. And yeah, moving into next week, it seems like we're going to do a little bit of a Mao is discovered storyline. Oh no, don't do medicine anymore. Don't stop being an apothecary and keeping a diary as such. Yeah, and again, we'll see where that goes in time. Really enjoyable. I enjoyed the session here today. Even if I had a few criticisms here and there, none of them were ultimately too major to affect enjoyment. I'm really loving it. I think it's great. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next week for even more content, 2 more episodes. Please look forward to it. And Patreon if you wanted to be that 1 week ahead. Yeah, like the video, subscribe, Discord, and I'm out of here. See you later. Goodbye. See you next week.